New developments tonight to a story we've been following for the past several weeks out of Webster County. Former chief investigator for the Webster County Sheriff's Office, Landon Griffin, and a female jailer, Santana Townsend, have been arrested and booked into the Oktibbeha County Jail. Our Quentin Smith has been following this developing story ever since it broke this evening. He joins us live from Starkville with more.
Yes, Scott, I'm here outside the Oktibbeha County Jail, where Griffin and Townsend were both booked earlier today. Now, Griffin, he's being charged with trafficking firearms and embezzlement, while Townsend is being charged with 2 counts of sexual activity with an inmate, furnishing contraband to an inmate, as well as sale and possession of a controlled substance. Now, these 2 arrests today, they're just the latest chapter in the story that's continuing to unfold. Griffin's arrest is the latest chapter in this Webster County Sheriff saga. You may remember, it was just last month when we first reported that Sheriff Tim Mitchell was arrested and is now facing 12 felony charges. Those charges include attempting a sexual act with an inmate, giving weapons to an inmate, and he's even facing embezzlement accusations, just to name a few. Now, the arrest, it came shortly after Mitchell announced he'd be stepping down from the position as sheriff. However, Mitchell would rescind that resignation, and the Webster County Board of Supervisors accepted that letter. But then, 2 circuit court judges stepped in, issuing an order to put Chief Deputy Andy McCants in charge of day-to-day operations while Mitchell is locked up. Investigator Landon Griffin was fired from his position shortly after Mitchell was arrested. Griffin was the first investigator at the sheriff's office when he was brought on back in 2016, and he's played a key role in many of the department's cases. But now, Griffin is the most recent law enforcement officer to get arrested in this ongoing investigation. Now, bond for Griffin is set at $50,000, while bond for Townsend is set at $25,000. We're going to continue to follow this developing story, and we'll bring you the latest details, both on air and online, at WCBI.com. We're live in Starkville tonight. Quentin Smith, WCBI News.
All right, thanks very much, Quentin. In Jackson, now a Jackson area pastor's murder brings heartbreak to dozens. The shooting happened yesterday morning as Pastor Anthony Logano was opening the doors to the church. Terrence Friday has more from his friends and community.
It don't make any difference how many police we have in the city of Jackson, who the mayor of the city of Jackson, who the county, until we change the hearts of men and women.
Pastor P.J. Williams started his work in ministry in the early 90s. One of the men alongside him was Pastor Anthony Logano.
He went out and he's been evangelized for many years that I knew him, and he was always an humble young man, whether you be poor or rich. He invites you to come in, and that's the way the Lord told us to go out into the hedges and byways and compel men to come to him.
Williams says he watched the 63-year-old walk in his calling for decades. He went into neighborhoods others refused to go to and prayed for the people that some would overlook.
He was the person that the Lord had sent out here to minister to the people, and you can't be afraid to go into neighborhoods, and that's one thing about Pastor London. If you pass by his church now, you go by there, you'll know he was in an area that he was not afraid to be in a neighborhood because of the people. And right now, people's afraid.
Several other pastors and people across the country have expressed their sympathies on social media. Now, Pastor Williams is calling on other leaders to take a stand against the constant battle to make the city's streets safe again.
Let's be together and have prayer in an area that's not downtown in the hotel. Let's go into the streets. Let's go into West Jackson. Let's go into Georgetown, Burton Ditch, and let's go in these areas and talk to these young men on their level and find out what they really is on their mind.
And Marquez Hamilton was arrested and charged with capital murder. 3 additional warrants have been issued, but those names have not yet been released. On a much lighter note tonight, time to toss things over to Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson with the first look at our Monday forecast. Hey, Keith.
Cloudy skies all day long. This is how it played out in downtown Louisville, Mississippi. You know, if you've been out there, it's been overcast all day long. We are still cloudy. Temperatures in the mid and upper 30s. We've dropped just a few degrees here this evening. Worst case scenario under the clouds tonight, mid to low 30s, a quiet night. Winds fairly light right now. Your Tuesday, the clouds tonight out just a little bit, fingers crossed there, mid to upper 40s. So that's the way it's looking for tomorrow across our area. These clouds very persistent, but later this week we will moderate things. Rain chances go on up. More in just a few minutes.
Lowndes County and the city of Columbus are one step closer to potentially collecting a 2% restaurant tax again. Columbus Lounge Convention Visitors Bureau CEO Nancy Carpenter says that the bill has been pre-filed and is now waiting to be discussed and voted on in Jackson. A measure to renew the tax died in committee last year's session, that is. If the bill passes the legislature and is signed by Governor Phil Bryant, Carpenter says it could go into effect this year.
We are excited to get a new start, to have a new beginning, and we will do with what we're given, and we will make that work, and we will do what is best for our community.
At tonight's meeting, the CVB unanimously agreed on an interlocal agreement reached with the City of Columbus and Lowndes County. No matter how the votes go this year, there will be 5 new statewide elected office holders. That has not happened in years, since many often run for re-election in their current seat. State Treasurer Lynn Fitch's announcement that she's running for Attorney General is just the latest in a long list of announcements. Courtney Ann Jackson has the breakdown of political musical chairs.
The lineup card, if you will, of who's who in state government positions may look very different. It will look very different than it does today.
Governor Bryant has served the maximum 2 terms, but Lieutenant Governor Tate Reeves will seek that top office, as will Attorney General Jim Hood. That leaves their positions open. Secretary of State Delbert Hosemann will run for Lieutenant Governor, and Treasurer Lynn Fitch will run for Attorney General. Millsap's political science professor Nathan Schrader agrees it all falls in line with the somewhat unspoken political stair-steps.
There seems to be among some people in political circles an impression that you cannot attain this higher office until you've proven yourself by holding a lower position.
Reeves will have at least one challenger in the Republican primary, with State Representative Robert Foster also vying for the spot. On the Democratic side, in addition to Hood, Valicia P. Williams is also running. Schrader points out that part of the ongoing intrigue of this election cycle has centered around Hood.
You have to think about the fact that if you have a popular Attorney General Hood running at the top of the ticket for the Democrats, the question becomes, will he be strong enough or have coattails to bring along any other Democrats, or at least improve their prospects in legislative races down ballot, or maybe even other races like Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General.
Republican Secretary Delbert Hosemann and Democrat State Representative Jay Hughes are the 2 most talked about Lieutenant Governor candidates thus far, and Republican State Representative Mark Baker has also announced a run for AG. But there's still plenty of time for others to enter any of these races, with the qualifying deadline not being until March 1st. Courtney Ann Jackson, WCBI News.
Well, the partial government shutdown nears its 4th week, and as Allie Martin reports, a unique business based in Northeast Mississippi is at a standstill when it comes to product development.
It's been a busy 8 months at Queen's Reward Meadery. Jerry Carter opened the business last May. Queen's Reward makes mead, or wine, made with honey, water, yeast, and other flavors.
We're the only meadery in the entire world making mead with Mississippi honey.
Each flavor must go through a 2-step approval process. Workers at the Washington, D.C. based Tobacco and Trade Bureau first have to approve the recipe, which takes about a week. Then the new flavor's label has to get approval, and that can take 4 to 6 weeks. However, the partial government shutdown means TTB employees are not on the job, so Queen's Reward Meadery cannot get any new flavors approved.
We have a flavor that we're really excited about that we wanted to have ready and have released in time for Valentine's Day, which this is obviously not going to happen because we still have to wait for both of those processes to happen. And even if the government opened back up today, if the shutdown ended today, with the backlog, there'd be no way they could get those processed and we would be able to get that ready. Maybe Easter.
Jerry Carter calls herself the Queen Bee here at Queen's Reward, and while she says the shutdown hasn't shuttered her business, she would like to see some progress made in Washington to bring an end to the partial government shutdown.
Quit being political and make the decision that you think is best for the country. It may not be the same decision I would make, but it's frustrating to me to watch politicians change their opinion because it's not, because they would have to go against what their party thinks. No, do what you believe is right.
Queen's Reward can continue bottling and selling flavors that have already received the TTB's stamp of approval. In Tupelo, Allie Martin, WCBI News.
We are looking at overcast conditions right now. You can see some of those low clouds in Tupelo or in Columbus, also Tupelo if you look closely, I guess. That's our Alpha Insurance Camera Network. Your full forecast is next. Stay with us.
Your WCBI First Alert AccuWeather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Keith Gibson.
Extensive cloud cover out there. You know that. That's how it looked all day long in downtown Columbus outside WCBI. And that's how it still looks out across our region right now with these clouds in place. Boonville tomorrow, everywhere else, we're looking at some clouds. We'll hope for a few breaks out there, and that should get us back into the 40s across our region. Right now we're down into the 30s. We are expecting 48 in Tupelo and Aberdeen tomorrow. Winds from the north at about 2 to 6, so fairly light and variable wind. Upper 40s if we're lucky, maybe some low 50s too if we can't squeeze in a few more breaks. But today we were forecasting mid 40s. We were about 5 degrees below that because of the clouds. So if we do see more breaks tomorrow, it could be a little bit warmer if those clouds are very persistent like today. We may not get to 48, but we do have a bit of a warming trend. Rain and storm chances later this week, Thursday into our weekend, and then turning sharply colder again on Sunday. A passing cold front sometime Saturday. Arctic air. You haven't heard that in a while. Arctic air coming back in. Highs in the 30s, lows in the teens here as we get into the end of the weekend. So I think Saturday, even with the rain and storm chances, we should be well into the 60s around here. Don't get used to it though. 30s as we get into our Sunday. Something to look forward to. I guess if you want old man winter, some of us do. We do have some cold air in the forecast for the 20th through the 24th right here. The extended outlook also through the 28th too. So trends suggest that the second half of the month will be relatively cold versus where we have been. We also have those moisture chances in the forecast, a parade of storms out to the west. We have an active jet stream, and those pieces of energy will be coming our way for later this week too. So you can see that big dip right there for the weekend, that big dip in the jet stream giving rise to the rain, the storms, and the colder weather. Right now, extensive cloud cover. Futurecast suggesting we'll clear that all off tomorrow. Probably not. That'd be great if it does happen, but these clouds very persistent. So we'll see how things go. We should thin the clouds out a little bit more so on Wednesday before the clouds come back in for Thursday. This particular product not showing a lot of rain here on Thursday. We still suspect a decent chance for some showers. Our next best chance for heavier rain here, probably Saturday right there with the front. Behind it turning sharply colder. Can't rule out a little bit of wet snow sometime early Sunday. Probably not a big deal for us. The big story, blustery conditions, wind, and some cold air coming on in. Dangerous wind chills most likely as high pressure barrels on in as we close out the weekend. Here's your AccuWeather 7-day forecast. 48 tomorrow, 55 Wednesday, 60 or so Thursday, even with those rain chances, 60 on Friday. Mid-60s Saturday, good chance of rain and storms before the Arctic Express arrives.
An open coach's job in Louisville could lead to another opening not too far away. Courtney has details later in sports. Welcome back, everyone. It's finally starting to feel like winter outside, but long periods of time in the outdoors in the cold can be dangerous and lead to hypothermia. We learn more in tonight's Health Talk with Baptist.
Hypothermia occurs when the body loses more heat than it produces. It is usually the result of being exposed to very cold temperatures, but it can also occur in other circumstances, such as being in less cold temperatures if there is a wind chill, wearing wet clothes, being in a position where you cannot move. Hypothermia can occur both in water and on land. It is the #1 killer of outdoor recreationalists. The moment your body begins to lose heat faster than it produces it, you are experiencing hypothermia. Two things begin to happen. You voluntarily exercise to stay warm, and your body makes involuntary adjustments to preserve normal temperature in the vital organs, and you start shivering. Either response drains your energy reserves. The only way to stop the drain is to reduce the degree of exposure. If exposure continues until your energy reserves are exhausted, cold reaches the brain, depriving you of good judgment and reasoning power. You will not realize this is happening. You will also lose control of your hands. This is hypothermia, and without treatment, this slide leads to stupor, collapse, and death. Join us next time for Health Talk with Baptist, when we will discuss the risk of hypothermia as well as the signs and symptoms in more detail.
Mail your topic suggestions to healthtalk@wcbi.com. Health Talk has been brought to you by Baptist Memorial Hospital Golden Triangle.
The ranked Bulldogs look to continue SEC play undefeated. Highlights from tonight's matchup coming up next in sports.
WCBI Sports with Courtney Robb.
When a football program loses a decorated coach like MC Miller, who has brought countless titles to the Louisville name, many questions arise of who will be that official replacement. And there is yet to be an official hire to the Louisville head coaching position, but sources close to WCBI can confirm that Noxubee County head football coach Tyrone Shorter is an official candidate to serve as Miller's replacement. The Louisville Municipal School District has yet to confirm Shorter as Louisville's new head coach. Shorter replaced former head Noxubee County head coach MC Miller when he left to coach Louisville back in 2010, and since then he's led the Tigers to four 4A state titles. This past season, Shorter and the Tigers finished the season with a 7-6 record. The school board will meet tomorrow to discuss the potential hire at 5:30 p.m. We'll continue to bring you the latest tomorrow on WCBI Sports. Number 7, Mississippi State looking for its 4th SEC win tonight against Auburn. A close game in the first half, MSU up by 4, and don't hesitate with Chloe Bibby from beyond the arc. She knocks down a 3. It would extend the lead for the Bulldogs into double digits. Auburn missing the 3 for the response, and Onreal Howard grabs the rebound, gets out in transition quickly, pulls up from mid-range and gets the shot to go there. The Bulldogs would go up by as much as 14. Jasmine Holmes now getting down court quickly. She's going to give the ball to Bibby, and unable to finish it from the corner, but Big T always there for the rebound and the putback. And then speaking of Tierra McCowan, here she is on the inside, and Jasmine Holmes feeding it to her fast. The finish for 2 more. The Bulldogs lead late in the third by 20 points. And let me tell you, nobody puts Chloe Bibby in the corner, because when you do, she just hits threes. Bibby shooting 50% from deep today, 11 points overall. The Bulldogs able to pull off the win 85-59. They improved to 4-0 in SEC play. Tierra McCowan with another double-double. Leads the team with 22 points and 10 rebounds. Next up, Mississippi State returns home to play South Carolina on Thursday. Mississippi State men's basketball still looking for a first SEC win of the season. A tough start to conference play for the Bulldogs, going 0-2 after being upset from South Carolina on the road and at home this past weekend against Ole Miss. And the turnaround is never too long. The number 24 Bulldogs play Florida tomorrow night, a team known for taking risks with plenty of shots from deep. And with that, they got back into practice yesterday, and head coach Ben Howland saying that the shot from beyond the arc is something that they continue to work on.
We talked about that after our game Saturday. They had 12 threes, and I think we've given up 20 in the last 2 games. And everybody's shooting threes in college basketball now, and in NBA basketball, it's a huge part of the game. And when you're looking at analytics, and in other words, if you shoot 35%, you're really shooting 52.5 from 2, and when you're talking about threes, so 40% is 60%, and so on and so forth. So everybody's playing. The game has evolved more and more into such a 3-point shooting game.
Well, just because it's never too early to talk about baseball, and especially those Diamond Dogs. They were just tabbed to D1 Baseball's preseason poll. The Bulldogs coming into the early ranking as number 14. It marks the second top 20 ranking of the preseason for the Bulldogs so far. Not surprising, the Bulldogs welcome back 18 members from the College World Series run in Omaha this past season, except it'll be a little bit different this year. They're going to be led by first-year head coach Chris Lemonis. During his time at Indiana University, Lemonis led the Hoosiers to 3 NCAA regional appearances. Baseball season is right around the corner for the Bulldogs. It officially gets going at Dudy Noble Field just about a month from today. Their first matchup is going to be against Youngstown State on February 15th. That's it for sports. Your last look is coming up next.
The clouds should thin out just a little bit tomorrow. We're still expecting some 40s, a little bit brighter, a little bit warmer Wednesday. Scott, some showers there Thursday, but warmer yet even into the weekend, where Saturday's probably going to be mild but wet before we turn sharply colder and windy on Sunday.
We were talking about this last week, how it always seems to rain on the weekend.
And then we're stuck in this rut, but can't do anything about it this weekend.
We'll get out of it eventually.
Yeah, I mean.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.